Welcome to Auto Mundial, the weekly car news and review show where this week we have a 1,000 horsepower electric hypercar from Hispano-Suiza.
We also have new SUVs from Seat and Toyota, as well as Bentley's latest Flying Spur.
And if all that wasn't enough, we also have Lamborghini's new hybrid flagship, the Sian. That is all coming up. First though, the news.
A recent study has found that 70% of European drivers are considering going electric with their next car. A survey of 7,000 motorists from around the continent revealed that over 2/3 of drivers are considering buying an EV as their next car purchase, with environmental factors being the main reason. The survey, led by Nissan, also revealed that 74% of existing EV drivers feel more relaxed driving an electric car, with only 11% preferring the internal combustion driving experience.
In the ever-expanding SUV market, the Volkswagen Group continues to improve its range with countless models across its brands. And this is Seat's latest, the Tarraco. The Spanish brand's first 7-seater SUV, the Tarraco is closely related to our current class favourite, the Skoda Kodiaq. Seemingly overnight, Seat has evolved from a brand with no SUVs to suddenly having 3 to choose from. Such is the way in the current market. It's also the marque's second 7-seater, with the more traditional Alhambra MPV now finally put out to pasture. The Tarraco could be seen as a cut-price Q7 with the same underpinnings as the Skoda Kodiaq. 7 seats, nice engine choices and plenty of space, while keeping that solid VW Group build quality. There are 2 petrol and diesel engine choices to choose from, going from a 1.5 litre petrol to a 2 litre diesel version with different power outputs. Until now, the 148 brake horsepower diesel motor was available as either a manual front-wheel drive or an automatic 4x4. But now for 2021, there's a new option to have the diesel motor with a 7-speed DSG gearbox and front-wheel drive. A plug-in hybrid version is also on its way with a combined 242 brake horsepower and good for 0 to 62 miles per hour in 7.4 seconds. The inside is well made and functionally laid out. Up front is an 8-inch infotainment system, 3-zone climate control, with the top-spec Excellence Luxe getting some tasty 20-inch alloys, heated seats and privacy glass. On the design front, the Seat has modern and functional styling. It wouldn't look out of place on the morning school run while still being a looker, especially with those pointy, inset headlights. A prominent radiator grille, LED lights and lighting strip across the boot help it stand apart from the Skoda Kodiaq and Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace, with which it shares a platform.
Speaking of which, the Skoda Kodiaq does share a lot with the Tarraco, and it's cheaper too. While the Tarraco is designed to embody the Spanish brand's sportier image within the VW Group, its lower suspension and firmer ride quality don't feel justified compared with the more comfortable Kodiaq. Other rivals include the new Hyundai Santa Fe, a big, bold SUV for those who prefer to stand out. A facelift of the previous generation, this new car is certainly a head-turner. We've been pretty vocal about our opinions of other manufacturers' big grilles in the past, but this time we have to say we rather like it. After all, this is a big car, and apart from the new hydrogen Nexo, the most expensive Hyundai you can buy here in Europe, with prices starting at almost £40,000. That may sound like a lot in present company, but top-spec Skodas and Seats are comparable. The rest of the car is a little more conventional, but by no means unattractive. The front and rear bumpers have both been updated, and so have the head and tail lights. The cabin is smart too, and every bit as practical as its European competition. However, for buyers on a budget, the Hyundai simply can't compete.
While the VW Group continues to cash in on the SUV craze, we can't help but feel the Tarraco has missed the mark. The cheaper Skoda Kodiaq offers everything and more at a lower price point, with even a sporty VRS model on sale. The Tarraco seems like a missed opportunity. What could have been a cut-price alternative to the posher Audi SUVs has instead ended up as nothing more than an expensive rebodied Kodiaq. So if you want an affordable SUV with VW build quality, save some money and buy the Skoda.
Big luxury limos are normally found quietly wafting around city centres and financial districts at single-digit speeds. Usually found with a chauffeur behind the wheel, refinement tends to be priority, with performance taking a back seat. This, though, is the all-new Bentley Flying Spur, and it has its priorities set a little differently. Up front, you'll find either a 4-litre V8 producing 542 brake horsepower, or a gigantic 6-litre twin-turbo W12 kicking out 626 brake horsepower. Drive goes to all four wheels, meaning a 0-62 time of 3.8 seconds in the bigger motored car, while top speed is 207 miles an hour. Bentley claims class-leading stiffness too, but air suspension is on hand to avoid any champagne spillages in the back. It can be firmed up though in sport mode, allowing it to handle almost as well as the Continental GT on which it's based. In fact, the Flying Spur is just 0.2 of a second slower to 62 than the coupe, and the top speed is identical. That's hugely impressive for a bigger car with 2 extra doors. And despite a 130mm longer wheelbase than the old model, the new Flying Spur is only slightly longer overall thanks to shorter overhangs. Interior space has been increased, meaning it's comfier than ever. There are new heated, ventilated massage seats, covered in only the very finest leather from Bentley. To completely upholster and stitch a Flying Spur interior takes 26 hours. This is certainly a proper luxury car. There's virtually no plastic to be found in the cabin, with beautifully knurled aluminium switchgear and gorgeous wood veneers. It also gets the same rotating screen in the dash as the Continental, the sort of classically British feature you just don't find in a Mercedes or Porsche.
Speaking of Porsche though, the Panamera shares its platform with the new Bentley. And while it may not come with a massive W12, the 671 brake horsepower Panamera Turbo SE Hybrid gets from 0 to 62 in 3.4 seconds, while getting 97.4 miles per gallon on a cruise. In fact, we can think of few other cars that offer that sort of performance and economy. It even has an EV mode that enables around 30 miles of electric-only driving. The Porsche is arguably better set up for those who want push on a twisty road, but it is inside where you'll find the biggest differences. The two cars' interiors are worlds apart, with the ultra-modern Panamera totally outclassed by the Bentley. The materials in the Flying Spur are on another level.
The carpets are thick and spongy, while the quilted leather cocoons you whether you sit up front or in the back. The options list is vast too, meaning no two Flying Spurs will likely be the same. Everything from super premium sound systems to fancy oil caps are available, with endless colour and interior trim options. This then is more than just a limo. It's a piece of automotive self-expression that has no real direct rivals. It's a car that you can be chauffeured in on a weekday commute, and then grab by the scruff of the neck for a weekend blast. Bentley has been building cars for over 100 years now, and the Flying Spur seems like the perfect culmination of Bentley's heritage. The Flying Spur captures the spirit of the Marque's racing cars, while continuing the brand's history of building some of the finest, most opulent vehicles on the road. Porsche underpinnings or not, the Flying Spur is well deserving of its Flying Bee mascot.
After the break, a hybrid Lamborghini and a Spanish hypercar.
Coming up, an electric hypercar from Hispano-Suiza. But first,
supercar lovers tend to be divided into two main camps. You're either drawn to the passion, science and precision of a Ferrari, or you love the outrageous styling, roaring V12 and general antisocialness of a Lamborghini. But while Ferrari has been making strides with its hybrid technology, the Santa Gata rivals have been lagging behind until now. This is the Sian, the Raging Bull's first foray into electrification. Don't think it's gone all tame though. It's a hybrid in the loosest sense of the word. It retains the Aventador's naturally aspirated 6.5 litre V12 and pairs it with a 48-volt electric motor commonly found in Audi's mild hybrids. The result is 808 brake horsepower and 0 to 62 in under 2.8 seconds. This then is very much a Lamborghini. The electric motor produces just 34 horsepower and is sandwiched between the engine and transmission. Unlike most hybrids, it's powered by a supercapacitor, which Lamborghini reckons is 3 times more powerful than the more conventional lithium-ion setups. The V12 is largely identical to the one in the Aventador, upon which the Sian is based. It has been remapped though, and gets some fancy new titanium intake valves and a new exhaust system. It also features lots of cool aero trickery to maximise downforce and cooling. The styling is just as outrageous as we were hoping, with influences from the Countach visible at the front end, the glass engine cover and in the rear lights. It looks incredible and will no doubt silence those critics who say Lambo is getting a bit too bland. There are lots of Y-shaped details too in the lights, knacker ducts and engine cover inspired by the Terzo Millennio concept. Things are a little more conventional inside, where the Aventador interior remains largely intact. The Sian does get some bespoke trim though, and a fantastic new set of screens, bringing the ancient dash of the regular car into 2021. The name Sian translates as flash of lightning in the local Bolognese dialect, something of a reference to its hybrid powertrain. Its full name though is Sian FKP37, in honour of the late VW Group boss Ferdinand Piëch, who passed away in 2019. Only 63 will be built, and predictably they're all already sold. Lamborghini hasn't disclosed the price tag, but we guess it's way into the millions of any currency you can imagine. And while the mild hybrid system seems like a bit of a gimmick, it does at least show that the Lambo V12 isn't leaving us anytime soon.
the latest Toyota RAV4 has been with us for a couple of years now and is arguably the boldest and most interesting version since the original launched in the mid-1990s. It's clean-cut and modern, and while it may be the biggest RAV4 yet, it's still the brand's baby SUV in North America. Sitting under the Highlander, 4Runner, Sequoia and Land Cruiser, it seems that Toyota has every SUV base covered. Still, that hasn't stopped them from bringing us this, the all-new Venza. Positioned somewhere in between the compact RAV4 and the spacious Highlander, the Venza offers a stylish alternative to its more humdrum siblings. Based on the Japanese market Harrier, the Venza immediately stands out with an almost coupe-like roofline and a sleek, curvier silhouette than the RAV4 and Highlander. So, it looks the part, but what is it like inside? Well, it's certainly striking, with a massive infotainment screen sitting rather incongruously atop the equally eye-catching dashboard. We like it though, and it is a world away from some of the more dated cabins in some of Toyota's other SUVs. Even entry-level cars get a decent screen, but top-spec cars get this enormous 12.3-inch display with sat-nav and a fancy 9-speaker JBL sound system. High-spec cars also get Toyota's new Stargaze panoramic roof, which can switch from transparent to opaque at the touch of a button, giving this good-value SUV a real touch of class. Unfortunately though, despite being slightly bigger than the RAV4, the cabin is not quite as spacious. The boot is slightly smaller and there's less passenger space. Powering the Venza is a 2.5-litre petrol motor hooked up to no fewer than 3 electric motors, producing a total of 219 horsepower. All versions are all-wheel drive, with the combustion engine and 2 of the electric motors powering the front wheels, with the third motor driving the rears.
So how does it stack up against the competition? Well, first up is this, the Honda Passport. While it may not look especially glamorous, especially next to the stylish Toyota, the Passport is rugged looking with a meaty V6 and a third row of seats. Four-wheel drive may be optional, but with great ground clearance and massive boot, it's an ideal choice for a trip into the great outdoors. The conventional cabin may not be as distinctive as the Venza's, but it's well laid out and inoffensive, although there is a little too much cheap-feeling plastic almost everywhere you look. The 3.5-litre V6 isn't anywhere near as economical as the hybrid Toyota, but it does produce a hefty 280 horsepower, so it's a better choice for anyone who wants to haul or tow heavy loads or venture into the wilderness. But if off-roading is a priority when choosing your mid-size SUV, surely this is the go-to choice, the brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee. In this company, you'll be looking at lower spec versions, but even they come with a powerful V6. The new 2021 car looks great, with some classic all-American styling and plenty of chrome. There's a V8 too for those who want even more power, and it's available with either 2 or 3 rows of seats. For Venza money, you're going to be looking at one of the lower trim levels, but even they get a desirable cabin, although it is worth paying extra for the improved infotainment.
So, while the new Venza's place in the Toyota SUV lineup may seem a little confusing, it does at least fare well against its rivals. For us though, we'd recommend the RAV4. It too is available as a hybrid and packs more practicality into a smaller package.
In the world of supercars, the market has long been dominated by world-famous companies with decades of heritage and racing pedigree. But around the peripheries have always been some lesser-known brands that often only exist for brief periods of time before vanishing. One such mark was Hispano-Suiza, but now it's back. First formed in the early 20th century, the luxury car brand faded into insignificance as it devoted its resources into the aerospace industry. Now though, it's got a new car, the Carmen. Inspired by a car from the brand's back catalogue, the Carmen looks like nothing else on the market. The retro futurist styling looks to have come straight from a science fiction film, with covered rear wheels and that tapered rear end. The interior is just as striking as the outside, with ultra high-end materials making this a real hyper GT car. And it isn't just the styling that's futuristic, the powertrain is too. The Carmen uses an electric motor on each rear wheel for a combined 1,005 brake horsepower, meaning a 0 to 62 time of under 3 seconds. If that's not fast enough for you though, Hispano-Suiza has also unveiled this, the Carmen Bologna. With a few subtle tweaks, the Bologna produces 1,099 brake horsepower and can hit 62 from rest in under 2 seconds. All this performance and luxury doesn't come cheap though. The regular Carmen starts at £1.3 million before taxes, with the Carmen Bologna coming in at £1.43 million. The Hispano-Suizas may not be to everyone's taste, but for those who buy them, we suspect that may be a large part of the appeal.
Join us again next week on Auto Mundial as we take a look at BMW's all-new EV, the i4.